Kern. He does amazing work over at DraftKings. And let's dive into the AFC North, a division that I think is going to be one of the most interesting in all of football. And we always talk about best divisions in all of football coming into the season. Do you think that this one could be it? Because I haven't heard a lot of people talking up any sort of division the way that we heard about the NFC West a few years ago. We heard that for the AFC West last season, and that did not turn to form. But I take a look at the AFC North, and I think that this might be the best division in all of football this year.
Yeah, it's right up there. I think the AFC North is going to be very good. I think the AFC East is going to be good, too. You have a lot of good teams there, especially with the Jets getting better. The AFC West is going to be good. I mean, the AFC is just a loaded conference in general compared to the NFC. But, yes, I totally agree with that, Greg. The AFC North, with the Ravens, with the Bengals, the top two teams in this division, it's going to be very competitive.
And if you're looking to be able to bet on who's going to win this division, you're able to get plus money on all these teams. Right now, with the Bengals, you're finding them at DraftKings at a plus 150. The Ravens, they're the number 2 shot at a plus 220, plus 425 on the Browns, and the Steelers are at plus 450. So some relatively tight odds. Where do you lean on this one? Because certainly the one team that I would not advocate for, I can make a case for pretty much 3 out of these 4. I can't make a case for the Cleveland Browns at a plus 425. I just don't know what we're going to get out of Deshaun Watson. Sure, there might be a little bit of upside, but even if that's reach, I just still don't think that they're on par with a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, who I know that it's the number 1 pick on the board at plus 150, but I just look at the way that Joe Burrow has been able to run this offense, and I do think that they are that clear top team in the division.
Yeah, plus 150 is a steal for the Bengals. When you look at this team, they're very complete, especially on offense. You have Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, and then Jamar Chase, who's probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year this year. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, a ton of weapons for him to work with. And the thing that I love about Cincinnati, their front office, they're putting great offensive linemen in play for Joe Burrow to protect him. Because if you give this quarterback time, we've seen it since he's entered the league. When you give him time in the pocket, he can pick teams apart. And that's exactly what the Bengals are trying to do. So I love this team to win the division. And then on defense last year, they were fantastic. They were 7th in least yards allowed per game. They were 6th in least points allowed per game. They got after it on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's something that we really didn't talk about that much because the offense generated all the attention. So yes, I love the Bengals to get the job done in the division. When I look at the Browns, I don't see Deshaun Watson doing anything special. I need to see what he can do. Can he get back to that old style Deshaun Watson play that we knew from Houston? When you look at the Ravens, Lamar kind of scares me in this new offense with Todd Monken. They have a lot of talent around him, but that does not automatically mean that they're going to win football games consistently. And then the Steelers just aren't flashy enough to win this division, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to have the offensive firepower. I think they're going to play great on defense. They're going to be very competitive, but they're not the Bengals.
I agree with you there, but when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who you just alluded to, I think they might have the best value in terms of being able to bet a few futures with them. Like plus 130 to be able to make the playoffs with the Steelers is something that I do like, because right now we're finding their win total at an 8.5, and I do like it over. I don't like the fact that the juice is right now minus 155. We're seeing that at DraftKings, and you always want to shop around because I do think that the juice on these win totals is big, and you don't want to just go from like an 8.5 to a 9.5 because that is a big, giant jump. Asking a team to win 9 games to be able to cash your bet instead of 10, yeah, that's a very significant difference. But I look at the Steelers, and I think that they are being disrespected once again this year because Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that I might be in the grave by the time we see that streak end because he just always has his team firing all cylinders and always gets the most out of them.
Yeah, I might be considering an alternate win line for them at 9.5, just because I do think they can get to that 10-win mark. But I like the 8.5 wins. I like them to make the playoffs. Mike Tomlin's never finished below 500, as you were saying. And this team won 9 games last season, and they're an improved cast this season. When you look at them, they have some type of consistency at the quarterback position. This should hopefully help Matt Canada call some good plays this year, but we will see. Now, the Steelers were top 10 in points allowed per game. They played very good on the defensive side of the ball. They were a slightly above average unit for most of the defensive categories that we look at. And I think they're going to be just as good on defense this year. They have a lot of veteran guys there that are going to get after it, especially in the secondary as well. Minka Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr., who I absolutely love, Cameron Hayward, and TJ Watt in the front seven. Those guys are going to get after it as well. And when I look at this team, with their win total at least, I think they can go 2-4 in the division. But then they'll beat Vegas, Houston, the Los Angeles Rams, Tennessee, the Green Bay Packers, Arizona Cardinals, Indianapolis, and then either Seattle or New England. And that's all their winnable games, right? They still have other games in there against really tough teams. They could steal a couple and get to this win mark. So I don't mind the alternate line at over 9.5 just because of their schedule, number one, their defense, and then that they're going to have some solidarity at the quarterback position and on offense.
And part of that as well is if they do go over 9.5 wins at a plus 130 to be able to make the playoffs as well, that should cash as well. So whichever way you want to look at it, I do think that all are very solid on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As joining me on the show, we've got Tanner Kern. He does great work over at DraftKings, and I was alluding to this. The one team that I really don't see a lot of value within the division, it's the Cleveland Browns. Their win total is currently at 9.5. Juice is around minus 130, minus 135 in a lot of books to be able to take a look at the under. And I think that this is a solid look. And could the Cleveland Browns be able to emerge if Deshaun Watson is the quarterback that we saw many years ago with the Houston Texans? Sure, but he did not look good in the back half of the season last year. And the defense that we were thinking was going to be able to take some strides forward for the Browns, it just hasn't been able to do so in recent years.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's got to learn how to play quarterback again, and I don't know if we're going to see him ascend back to the level that he was at when he was in Houston. But let's talk about the Browns, what they do well. They have a really good offensive line. They have one of the most elite running backs in the game in Nick Chubb. And Nick Chubb's a guy that stays healthy too, and that's something that we don't see a lot out of running backs in the NFL right now. They're average on defense, which really doesn't help in this division. Very good in the back end, Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, some of the best corners in the game there, corner combos. They were 5th in the league in least passing yards allowed per game last season, but they were exploited on the ground. And that's not a good thing in this division. The Bengals can run the ball with Joe Mixon. We know the Ravens are going to come out and run the football. And then when you look at the Steelers, they're going to have a heavy dose of running with Najee Harris as well. So not a good combination when you're playing in the AFC North, not being great in the front seven. But they do have a lot of winnable games on their schedule. You have Tennessee, Indianapolis, Arizona, the Los Angeles Rams, Chicago Bears, and the Houston Texans. Now, they're not going to win every one of those games, though. I'm going to acknowledge that. And I think best case, they're 3-3 in this division. I don't see them beating San Francisco, Denver, Jacksonville, or the New York Jets. And they need to go 4-2 there just to hit their win total. If they steal those winnable games, go 3-3 in the division as well. So I just don't see it happening, quite frankly. I really like this team, some of the pieces around it. But overall, when you don't play good in the front seven, you're going to have a tough time winning in this division.
Yep, totally agree with you there with the Cleveland Browns. Sure, they do have a little bit of upside, but I'm going to bank on that upside not all coming together for them to be able to get to 10 wins. And this team is fascinating as well because now I'm seeing their win total at DraftKings down to 9.5, but this 9.5 on the Baltimore Ravens comes with a very hefty minus 170 juice on the over. And if you take a look at theoretical percentages, what they're saying is you need to hit this 63% of the time on the over to be able to break even. I don't think that that's the case. And with the Ravens, they have added some nice weapons around Lamar Jackson. They pick up Odell Beckham Jr. They finally decided to address sort of the skill position players in the NFL draft this year. That said, with the Ravens, I can't bank on Lamar Jackson being out there for the full 17 games this season. And for the Ravens, they've got a solid defense, but so does everyone else in the division as well.
Yeah, it hasn't happened. He's not played a full season. I don't think it's ever happened in his career, quite frankly. It hasn't. But when you look at Lamar Jackson, I don't see him being out there. I don't see him being healthy, and I don't see him thriving under this new offensive system with Todd Monken as the OC. He wants to pick teams apart in the pocket, and that's just not Lamar's game. And another thing I'm a little concerned about, last season, Lamar kind of packed it in. And I know he was trying to get paid, and you have to save your body to be able to get paid because if you got injured, that might not happen. But I want a guy that wants to be on the field, win championships no matter what. I want that quarterback that wants to go out with a championship caliber team and win games. I just didn't see that from Lamar. So that left the sour taste in my mouth coming into this season. When I look at the Ravens, they have the talent to win 11 games. They really do. But I think we're going to see a very slow start for them because of their new offensive system. John Harbaugh has already acknowledged the fact that Lamar has not been able to grasp this system that much early. Obviously, we still have a lot of time till the season. We haven't even gotten training camp, but that's a concern of mine there too. And then when you look at the offense, they have some really good weapons. Mark Andrews being one of those guys, one of the best fantasy football tight ends in the game. But you're counting on OBJ, who coming off a torn ACL, right? He's not the same OBJ that we used to see in New York. And then you got Zay Flowers, too, out of BC, a guy you just drafted who you're going to count on heavily this season. And I don't want to be a team that counts on a rookie wide receiver right away to win games. So overall, when I look at this team, I think they're going to be good on defense, but Lamar's ability to throw the ball from the pocket scares me. And also their weapons aren't necessarily as good as they are on paper. So I would go under on any win total you can get for the Ravens right now.
We don't want to bank on rookies either, Tanner, and that's why we call you in. Tanner, he does absolutely amazing work at DraftKings, and it was great to be able to talk some football and some baseball. So big thanks to Tanner Kern for joining me, and in the final segment of the Greg Peterson Experience, hit you with my DK Nation write-up pick for the MLB.